Because if I start it, Adam's gonna get pissed off. Because I don't know how I can. I want to play right now.
Same.
I,
Okay.
I
I
I
think
haven't even
I
gotten to
think
play
he's being
today.
a little unrealistic about like the spoiler stuff because like it's gonna happen. There's gonna be a spoiler in here when we talk about it.
Hello and salutations, my fellow friends. This is PixelHate, where the H is silent and the hate is real. But not today because we got Tears of the Kingdom dropping and it's 99% good things. We might have just one thing, but that's just like a Nintendo thing. That's something you can really avoid and it's something we're already familiar with. But we're gonna get to that. Check the description for our socials. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and just give us a follow and subscribe to our channels, like our stuff. We always try and be more active on social media as we post more content. So we're getting to that. At the end of the day, always just listen to our podcast because we're funny and we're like, especially last episode because that was crazy, Chris. But anyways, I know we all want to talk about.
We want to get right into it.
I want to
Yeah,
jump right into it. We
but
got to do
first,
PSN.
yeah, we got PSN up. So let's get to that.
And if you'll notice, Adam is not here today. He's too busy being a married man. Jamal will be our sports anchor for today.
Greetings to all you fantasy sports fans out there. I'm Jamal Nelson of the PixelHate Sports Network with your fantasy update of the week. The day has finally come. We at PixelHate would like to apologize on behalf of Micah for doubting that Nintendo can make a competent sequel to one of their most elite and beloved games. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has released to all fanfare and critical acclaim that we expected. And unfortunately, Chris is reaping the benefits with a 96 Metacritic score added to his roster, despite the review bombing that's plugging the review aggregator websites. Star Wars Jedi Survivor also released 2 great scores, and Micah has now clocked 4 out of his 5 games and now only awaits Diablo 4 for his final score. Meanwhile, I still don't have any release dates or even hints that any of my games are coming out following the news of Hollow Knight Silksong delay. So I'm definitely going to lose this year. The standings remain as follows. Third place with an average of 484 on 3 games is Wope. Second with an average of 85.75 on 4 games is Micah. Chris maintains a strong first place lead with 94.5 on 2 games. And myself and Adam are still waiting for launch. On the poorer side of things, our topic from last week remains painfully accurate. The Xbox exclusive Redfall failed to impress and managed to run below the already to paid expectations. Repetitive, uninspired, and straight up bad. This game does no favors to Microsoft's first party hopes going forward. And with Starfield's launch relatively close on the horizon, they need all the goodwill they can get. This has been Jamal Nelson with your PixelHate non-sports update on PCN.
I think a lot of those games are gonna take a hit on their scores because of Tears of the Kingdom for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be some recency bias, and then there's gonna be just carrying that throughout the year.
Yeah, man. Now Tears of the Kingdom has set a standard.
Starfield is not scoring a 10 out of 10 unless it's like the greatest game ever.
Not gonna lie, I have very little hope, and that's like one of my top games. Like, I don't feel like taking it out because honestly, I'm not super excited about anything else that's coming out that isn't already taken by y'all. So, I mean, I feel like I'm just stuck with it. And like I said about the Redfall thing, like they really need all the goodwill they can get because Microsoft is kind of shitting the bed with the first party exclusives. Like when you like, it's just night and day, man. Tears of the Kingdom shows this is peak Nintendo. We do a lot of hating here, a lot, and I don't feel like it's too much. I feel like it's all deserved. But this is peak Nintendo here. I'm 8 hours in. Jamal, you're what, 15, 20?
I don't know. The only person's hours I can see is I don't even know how I can see Micah's. Like, you know how when you look at someone's hours, you can't really see until after the 10 days.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought it
Yes.
was, oh, okay.
No, it's after 10 days when some like you'll say, oh, first play like 5 hours ago. Oh, first played a day, 2 days, blah
Right.
blah ago. Micah's I can see his hours now. I don't even know how.
I think it's because I played at midnight. I don't know why though,
I
because
think it's if
I've
you
never
play
had
a
that
certain
happen to
amount.
me.
I think if you play a certain amount of hours, then they show you.
But
No, but that only goes after 10 days, and yeah, it will show that.
I've
But
only
before
played like
that,
it says I've only played like 10 hours, but I know I played a little bit more than that. But like,
well, rounds to every 5.
there's no way I have that. I haven't been able to play that much this weekend, unfortunately. So,
Yeah, been mad busy, but
um,
we can get into that.
Yeah, man, let's get into this topic.
so I played it at midnight on launch day, and I continued to play it for like 5 hours until I literally had to stop because I would have been waking up very groggy. Um, the intro to the game, I'll just start from the start until like where I kind of stopped playing that night. The intro to the game, it leads you pretty much right where the first trailer of Tears of the Kingdom like was showing underneath Hyrule Castle, Link and Zelda searching for something. And first of all, like they definitely had a lot more budget with the cinematics. The cinematic value and the cinematic production value has been amplified significantly. And this was kind of shown already in Age of Calamity that they are going to take a more story focused route this time, but now you can see it 100% through the entire game. Side quests have cutscenes, every quest has a cutscene, and just Link being out in the world doing certain things, those also have cutscenes. So it's a much more cinematic experience. So right off the bat, you're like very immersed and sucked in. And then as you're walking underneath Hyrule Castle, some really interesting music is playing. Something kind of like I made a video about it and I kind of said it was more like Majora's Mask. But I don't know if exactly that's the right genre to choose. I can't think of like what kind of music it reminds me of, but actually, surprisingly, it kind of reminds me of what is the ghost town from Pokemon Red?
Lavender Town.
It reminds me of Lavender Town's music as you're
It's that
walking through.
ominous.
Oh
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
yeah, I
a
can see
meow,
that.
Yes.
meow, but it's going backwards. So it kind of
Mm-hmm.
sounds like you're just dreading whatever's at the bottom of this thing.
It's
So you're
like the
walking
Blood
down this
Moon theme.
tunnel. Yeah, you're walking down
Yes.
this tunnel with Zelda. Um, and by the way, Link has 20 hearts. So so you know what the fuck is up. My boy has been geared up since the first game.
It
So
looked
it's
like a
not like we're
whole lot
just
more.
it's not like you're just starting off like 3 hearts again. Like they recognize and justify the fact that you put 100 hours in that first game. So they recognize it, and you have the Master Sword. And then you go down and you go further down, and the music starts to start ticking higher and higher, and you're like, oh, whatever's down here, I'm gonna absolutely hate it. And then you get to it, and
Wait, hold on.
this
Don't
is
say the.
this is trailers. This is trailers.
Oh, was
It's
it in
like
the
The
trailer?
no, this is like the first trailer
This is
that
the
we
first
saw.
trailer.
Oh.
You find a skeleton body. Zelda interacts with it in a way, and basically it triggers a reaction that makes the skeleton come alive. And from what happens there, things occur. Link loses his current power, where we have him with 20 hearts and the Master Sword, and then he also loses Zelda in that process. So a lot of shit goes down. I won't say what, you got to find out. But
All I know is I was like, oh, business is about to happen.
well, I'll
That's what
say
I knew.
I was definitely like, fuck yeah, like at least they showed me losing my power. Like they didn't just rip me of it. Like
Like, oh, you forgot.
some games sequels, they just get rid of the first game's powers and all that shit for no reason. They don't have any explanation other than it's a new game.
Or
Even
very
Jedi
poor.
Survivor kind of suffers from this. Like Jedi Survivor, Cal forgets like half of his moveset. And I'm like, bro, like I learned all this shit in the
That was
first
the
game.
justification in Kingdom Hearts, and
And
which is
every
it
Kingdom
almost
Hearts.
makes sense because it's all memory based. It's like, oh, he just forgot. I lost my power. I don't know how
They
to do
actually do a
everything.
really good job of justifying how Link isn't as strong right off the rip and that you're naked at the beginning of the game.
Oh
So
yeah, that was like a lot of things were very well explained. And even if they don't make sense now, later on, there's context to give that. So yeah, it
yeah,
feels very alive, the game.
the
And the game is
castle,
played so differently.
yeah. and the castle raises from the ground after all this goes down. You end up in the sky, and that's where the game begins. And Link, he being naked and basically destroyed after the events that just happened. He takes his plunge into the world, and the beginning of this game, when you're diving off of the giant like bridge or whatever, like it's like a little it's like a
Little
rock
platform.
face.
Yeah.
It's like a platform, yeah, exactly. That he's just jumping off after Hyrule Castle's been raised a million feet into the air. He jumps off and he starts skydiving, and it's what you've seen in the trailers right off the beginning, where he's just like having his hair flowing and he's got his arms out. The music that kicks in and it pans out and it has a title card, bro. I was like, in my head, I was thinking, we're back. Like it's time to
Mm-hmm.
like do this all again. And even I think this may not have been their intention, but I feel like they were trying to do that with Link too. Like Link doesn't have much of a personality, but a part of me felt like he was happy to be doing this shit again. Like when he was diving there, a part of me was thinking, this
Well, you
boy
kind of
knows
learn
what he's
more
about
to
to.
Link's character that kind of supports that also later on. At least that I saw also.
Well,
But
it's kind of like a this is round two, and like
mhm.
seeing his face, I was like,
And you know
he.
what? I want to backtrack. I know Wolpe, when you were talking about, oh, like, you're back, that feeling. Wolpe, when you were up there, you mentioned how you had to like, hold on, before I like, really
Yeah.
start into it, let
Before I
me
took the
take it
jump,
all in. Let me take in the view.
I panned the camera around. Like
Oh,
I
of
stood at the
course,
top. I was just like,
I had to see
oh,
what
this is
happened.
it. I could tell. I was like, oh, this is it. This is where it starts. And I even recorded like a little video of myself. I was like, because you can only do this the first time once.
Yeah,
So I was like, yeah, I want to enjoy this. I was up there for like a good 2 to 5 minutes, just like, wow, I'm really about to play this game. This is the first Legend of Zelda game I've ever purchased in my life. And Breath of the Wild was the first one I'd ever played. So I don't know, like we don't often get those pure gamer moments anymore. I feel like I did have like a little bit of a feeling of that playing Pokemon, but then it kind of, you know,
Mhm.
but for this, like a grand adventure and knowing, like now having a base and knowing what to expect to an extent, it just felt really special. And I'm thankful for that.
yeah.
And I took
And
that dive and I was like, yeah,
when I
we're
first
here.
played Breath of the Wild, it was a year after. It was like the end of 2017, so it was the first year of the Switch, but it was still like I I'll be real. I had no idea what Breath of the Wild was when I like actually went to go play it. I had no idea. All I ever saw of that game, I didn't even know it released. I saw one clip of the Link with white eyes armor. I forget its name.
Oh, like the God Deity Link or
The
whatever.
deity Link. Yeah, I saw that a clip of him like just upgrading his armor. I was like, this game looks cool.
Wait a
So I
minute,
went
there's
and
deity
bought it.
armor in the game?
You have to get an amiibo. I have it, but you have to have an amiibo.
Like the costume in Smash Bros for Link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but that was my only like knowledge of Breath of the Wild. So when I actually got into Breath of the Wild, even at the beginning of Great Plateau, I wasn't sitting there being like, "This is the greatest game ever." Everyone's saying it's great. I was sitting there being like, "I don't know what this game is about. It's a Zelda. I'll probably like it." By the end of it, I fucking loved it. So knowing that now, at the intro of this game, where I do know what the hell is going on, and I do have a high expectation for it, it just felt so good to see us back in that world, and let alone our boy has grown up. Like he's definitely an adult now. If not like 18 to 20, Link is. He's definitely older. Uh,
The new look is great.
yeah, he
Hmm.
just looks more mature. He
He looks
looks
cooler.
cool as fuck.
He looks like a veteran.
Yeah, yeah. He looks like he's
You
been
just
there
can tell
before,
he's
man.
got some years on him now, like for
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
And same with other characters.
And
Um,
then on Chris. So we're talking about Tears of the Kingdom, but Breath of the Wild, how did you feel starting off? Because you are actually finally now experiencing that game.
It's definitely a weird like what the fuck moment. Like you're like, all right, they literally just let you roam and do whatever. And there's certain games that you get that feeling with, but this one is even different than all of those. Like you get it with the Skyrims of the world, you get it with like like
Assassin's
like
Creeds.
Assassin's Creed Prey, like stuff that really lets you get in there and let you explore all the systems and see what it is that you can do and mess around and stuff. So I get stuck on shrines all the time. That's what I've been doing most of the time. I'm in a shrine and I'm stuck trying to figure out what the puzzle is. And then the combat is so kinetic. I'm really enjoying it. The only thing that I don't like about it is the technical hiccups every now and again. The game stutters. It has frame rate issues and shit like that. But what did you guys think about that? Are there glaring technical issues still to this day?
Yes. Well, glaring sounds like an aggressive adjective, but there are some times when you're
There are
using like
definitely
some of the
more.
powers. Yeah, the frame rate does drop. And I mean, I feel like at this point, the Switch is 5 years old. Like this is to be expected. And I feel like at this point we're kind of grading on a curve when it comes to Nintendo games performance wise. And like we were talking about this a couple weeks ago when someone asked like what's more important, like performance versus graphics. The Legend of Zelda series, well, this specific series has been using the cell shaded graphics to like really great effect. But there were some times on the Sky Island where I'm looking at some of the rock textures and I'm like, this looks really
This is
old.
Pokemon level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like this looks really
but
old.
it sucks because as much as I love this game, I do feel like a game like Jedi Survivor for how beautiful it looks, but it doesn't run perfect. People shit on that game. People have shat on that game for running like slightly worse on consoles and outright crashing on PC. But then we have a Zelda, and it's like 10 out of 10, even with all of the fucking issues that I've experienced in the 10 hours I played. I'm already like, okay, there's popping everywhere. Okay, these textures look pretty bad. Okay, sometimes there's NPCs doing really random shit that I know they're not supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I love this game, so I'm not gonna judge it harshly for that. But the general consensus in the gaming community, people who say there's no bias towards Zelda are kind of lying. Like there's definitely a bias toward Nintendo games in general. And they're definitely rated higher when they're good, despite the like it shouldn't be a 10 out of 10. It should be a 9.
I mean, I can agree with that, but I feel like it's at the point where this is using the Switch to its max. Like it's not like a PS5 game or an Xbox Series game where it's
I'm
like
not
we
faulting
know
I don't
what
think
they
we
can
should
do.
fault
The hardware.
Nintendo developers for it. No, the hardware is a whole different thing, but like the actual developers, you can tell they did what they could do
No, yeah, and they
to
did
make this thing
exact like
run.
they did the best that they could,
But
and
I
it looks
I
like the
had
best.
maybe well, like a handful, like 5 at most situations in Breath of the Wild where I can remember frame rate drops or a bug. It's like basically none. But in the 10 hours I played of this new one, I've experienced multiple situations where I'm like, "Ooh, this one's definitely not as like polished and clean cut as the first one." But it's because the scale has been amplified many times over. Like there's a lot more going on system wise and also mechanics wise. Like there's just a lot.
Yeah, there's
And
a
Yeah,
lot of
like
effects. The building gets a little
there's
convoluted.
so much
Yeah.
more shit in the
the
sky and on the
Yes.
map.
the
And you can
So
always see it.
the game doesn't feel
so
as empty as Breath of the Wild. And
fuck
I mean,
no.
obviously, Breath of the Wild was meant to feel empty. Like you're in a ruined Hyrule, so you're trying to
Well,
like
not
fix everything.
empty. It's more like vast.
Yes, but I
Well,
mean,
it is
empty
supposed
as
to
in
feel,
like you know, there's
it's a
it's a quiet.
post-apocalyptic Hyrule. It's supposed to feel empty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but
there's quiet.
it didn't feel empty to me.
There was
Okay, well,
life there
around
when it was meant to
the
be there.
mountainous
I will
areas, when
say
I first got there, it seemed kind of dry. I
with
will
the
say
amount
that.
of stuff that has been added to this new one, at times I do feel overwhelmed. Where I'm like, oh man, I kind of miss how like because there was so little, I get not so little, because there was so much free space in the first game, it was kind of easier to be like, okay, I'm gonna head there, and that's all I'm gonna try and do right
Oh,
now.
because yeah, their distractions were not there wasn't as many
They were far
distractions.
and
So when
few.
you notice
Yes.
something that was like, all right, something is there. So you went there. Now you see like, all right, there's something there, but it's also something there and there.
You're trying
So
to plot like 5 different locations
And I
at
don't think
once.
this is a negative, so I won't even count it as that. But I do think it's a point to make that this game is a lot less. I would even say it's a lot less freeform than the first game because there are quest lines everywhere, and they all kind of step by step handhold you through the quest rather than where in Breath of the Wild it send you somewhere, but there was a lot of freedom to what you could do like in that space. This one, the story is way more direct.
yes, for sure.
The quest lines are more direct. The roads are more direct because things are being reconstructed. So there's civilization in certain areas, and then there's not. So you kind of have an idea of where to go. And I think it's not a negative because it's a different game, but the feeling of the emptiness. I feel like emptiness isn't a good word, but just like the feeling of how much freedom there was in the first one is definitely not the same in this one. There's like so much stuff that I feel somehow a little bit more restricted as to what to do at a certain time, if that makes sense.
I know exactly what you mean, and I was talking to Jamal about this earlier. You know how, and Chris, I'm sure you've seen this. The Breath of the Wild main quest, it's like go to Hyrule Castle, or it says something about
Yeah,
Calamity
and that's it.
Ganon, right?
Mhm.
And that's it. So when you finally hit the ground, and I'm trying to spoiler free this for y'all, um, one of the quests is, oh, go to the castle, but because you just need to talk to some guy. But in my head, I'm thinking, oh, if I'm going to the castle, I'm going to the boss fight. Is this where I'm free now? Or do
Mhm.
I have to do this before I
Yeah.
can get, like, I don't know at what point the freedom starts.
And I think so that's exactly my point. Like the quest lines are way more direct about what you should be doing. And then they also have multiple steps on top of like their initial step, which is very different from the first game. And in a game like Skyrim, where there's so many things to do, most people, a good amount of Skyrim players don't do 80% of the content in the game. Because there's so much to do. And you usually just want to do what you want to do. And I feel like a lot of Breath of the Wild players did that, but I feel like the majority of people that like were really like the game tried to do everything they could in Breath of the Wild. Personally, I did everything. So like seeing how much is in this game for me as someone who went in thinking I'm gonna 100% this shit, I'm like,
Yeah, it's very hard to think
It's
about
more
that.
intimidating.
I'm like, oh, might take me all year to do that actually, rather than a month like it did the first
And
time.
yes, there's so much stuff, and 100% it is definitely overwhelming. I kind of like how it handholds you because I'll kind of just use that as a reference point. Like, all right, I'm doing this to
Yeah.
guide me, and then I'll obviously still do a Breath of the Wild attempt where I'm just, if I see something that interests me, I'm gonna go over there. And then I'll just follow the beam path. Like I was so close to doing like a main story thing, but then I easily just got sidetracked because I saw something that ended up like way off track than what I'm supposed to do.
And I told you, Jamal, I said we were texting about the game, and I said, I don't want the game to tell me what to do on the story. I want to do what I want to do and go where I want to go at a time. But then I did that, and I went to go visit the Zora domain with the fish people, and instead of where they tell you to go,
Wait, already?
I went there because I was like,
He
I
want he
want
wanted to
not
see
because
the
the
Zora
game's telling me
domain.
to do that, but I remember that place and I want to go there.
Mm, oh,
So
wow.
that was how I chose to do it. And I did it and I was like, this doesn't feel as satisfying as doing in the first game. Like I feel like because the story is building in a way that the first game wasn't, where it's like, go to this town for this specific information, and we're telling you that right at the beginning of the game. Me not actively not doing that, whereas in Breath of the Wild, you had to just figure it out.
Is not the same
It
because you
felt like I
felt
was doing the
like
game a disservice by not following its formula.
Yes.
It felt like I was actively ruining the flow of the game. And I'm sure they expect players to do that. But for a first time experience, I think I want something. If they're going to have this catered experience where like they're taking you town to town as if it was like a normal campaign, then I probably will follow through with that because I don't want to like do something early on and then come back to the place and be like, actually, this isn't as satisfying as it would have been, if I came here the first time.
and then
It's interesting
plus
because it's like when you have a sequel to a game like this, and when you kind of don't know how to play because you want to play it the way you did already. But like you said, if
That's
it's
the thing. The
structured
reuse
differently,
map did that for me.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is, because we're still early. Like we're still mad early into it. So I don't think we really know how deep it can go yet. And I have muted every single keyword that I could fucking figure out. And I'm still seeing,
Yeah.
oh,
Me
watch
too.
this
I hate it.
videos on shit of
Right.
people building, and I'm so annoyed. But it's just
And Breath of
it's gonna be a very
Wild,
interesting experience.
because like thing Micah, like you can go wherever, but as far as you know, that was the right way to go because there's nothing
Yeah.
that's telling you like, okay, you should be here or not.
There wasn't a literal
It's like
NPC saying go to this town for further information.
Like it's just you have the four beasts, and it was like that's what you
or
need to do,
Beast and
and just
Hyrule
kind of get
Castle.
And
everything
just take it on
else.
however you want. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly,
This
whatever
time it's
order,
like
whatever
actually
thing.
there's a quest line that is going to take you along. And it's like, I don't know if I want to stray away from that then if you're gonna have this catered. And once I did start going back and following the catered experience, it felt like a much more natural progression. Like there was easier enemies, easier shrines. Whereas when I went the other way, I was running into shit that I was like, there's no way I can handle this right now.
Right.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, okay, so clearly there is an idea of what they want you to do. Maybe if veteran players want to go to the volcano place already, where the
The
Gorons
Gorons.
lives, but personally, no, I didn't even do that in the first game. But like, yeah,
Oh,
and
that was the last shit I did.
right. Um, but if you want to, you can, and that's always a plus. Just having that option. We can't get into too much spoiler
Yeah.
shit, man.
Well, let's
Intro,
hear
the
some.
intro. Let's talk about the tutorial area, the Sky Isles, which is a sort of Great Plateau.
It felt longer than the Great Plateau.
I
It
didn't
definitely
love
was.
it. I didn't
I
love it.
like. I didn't. I
It
think the
was
Great
weird.
Plateau
It was
felt
very welcome
more.
at first. It was extreme. I was like, this is fucking beautiful. The enemies are brand new. I was like, this is how you show you're coming out with new shit. You show us something that seems familiar, and then you drop us into the new shit. I was like, this is it. Then I was there for like 4 hours, and by the end, I told Jamal, I was like, fuck this shit. I almost looked up what to do.
No, literally, could you not find the last shrine?
Yeah, exactly.
Fam, I
Yeah,
was. Do you know what I tried to do? You know those floating platforms? Like the ones
yes.
that just float, like
Yeah.
closer to the well, not the ground, but closer to the island surface.
Yeah, I
I
went
put
to every
fans
platform.
I put fans on them and tried to ride them all the way up, using up
Me
all of
too.
my
Me too.
batteries just to realize that that's the
That there's
same fucking
nothing there.
island that I could warp to. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, I did the exact same shit. And I think honestly that was in a way intended. I think they wanted us to be confused and do everything you could with the new mechanics.
Because
But
the
at the
map is
same
kind of
time,
dumb.
I felt like it was I feel like it was a worse tutorial than Great Plateau, personally. I didn't enjoy being forced to do certain things. And it felt like whereas Great Plateau, you get in and you're like, damn, this open world's like ready to go, which it wasn't, but you didn't know that. This
Right.
Sky I was like by the end, I was like, fuck, get me off this shit. I
Let me
want to
tell you
go. I
though.
want to go so bad. And it just felt like I was trapped there.
Come on,
Yes.
but let me tell you that actually, like being able to run out of options and literally have to be creative comes in handy. I'm not going to really say, but there was a moment in the game where I had to do a side quest and I had to get from point A to point B. I thought the most craziest shit. And I almost didn't make it, but it was the most hypest moment I had in the game so far. So running out of options to literally force to be creative can create some beautiful moments.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of flexibility with how you do certain things now. Building obviously makes certain puzzles and quests easier to do if you know what you want to do. Like
It's as easy as you want it to be.
if you want to reach somewhere, and by the way, the vehicles and stuff, they're all battery powered, so it's not like you can just make a plane and have it forever. It doesn't
Right.
work that way. That's a lot of people's concern. I remember before the game came out, it's not like that. So they're not replacing the bike from the first game just yet. Not only in the building is there flexibility, but in the shrines themselves. I remember just today actually, I was doing a shrine and I couldn't figure out what the fuck this shrine wanted me to do. There was a railing and there was a bunch of blocks on the other side of the railing. And I was standing here, I can't reach the railing, I can't move, or I can't reach the blocks on the other side of the railing. I can't do anything to get across. And then eventually I was like, actually, fuck it. I'm just gonna try and walk on the railing. I ended up sneak walking all the way up to the top of this shrine,
You're
grabbing what I
wild.
needed to get, and then just beating the shrine. And I was like, this is the second time I've done something like this where I just went around, and you couldn't do a lot of stuff like that in Breath of the Wild. But now they definitely want you to take like 10 different ways to beat shrines. I
And
also
with the
did the
new
same thing
powers,
in
it's really
Man.
easy.
I also did another thing where I ran up the side of a wall and jumped up on a platform instead of doing a puzzle. I was like, you could just parkour now if you want to get to
Yeah.
a shrine.
I
And
did the same shit on the island. You know those like the rails where you're supposed to find a way to get from one side of the
Yeah.
island to the other. At first I was thinking, damn, how the fuck am I gonna do this? Do I just walk? And I tried to sneak walk, and I was like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but
But
it's
you
working right
can.
now, so I'm gonna do it.
And they definitely know that you're gonna try that.
I want to go on a slight tangent, and I want Chris to talk first. In Breath of Wild,
Yeah, Chris is
there's
listening to the podcast right now. Sick.
in Breath of the Wild, there's a sense of like you're weakened, you're a weakened link. Like the world is a dangerous place, right? Do you feel that sense, Chris, when playing Breath of the Wild? Like describe that.
Hell yeah. Link is weak as shit at the beginning of the game. And I was complaining to you about how many hearts I had and all. Like starting off the game with 3 hearts is like, oh my god, everything is dangerous. I'm walking up on lizards, they're dangerous. I'm walking up on rocks, they're dangerous. I'm walking up on it. Like it's like no, literally everything can kill you. And yeah, it's not a fun time when you're dying immediately. It makes you have to get good at the game.
Is
Plain and
literally
simple.
get good.
And then
I've died a few times to this isn't a spoiler because it's the same enemy in Breath of the Wild, but like the living rock formation.
oh, the Talons or Talos.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just beat one of those today after dying to it like 5, 6 times because like I forgot how to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to refigure it out. And I was like, oh yeah, this is what you do, this is where you aim, blah 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 blah. I'm still at 3 hearts, so you know everything sucks, or 4. But the shit is fun, man. It's
Mm-hmm.
so good. It's so good.
And in this game, like it still feels dangerous, but I know the map. I've been here before. So I'm
Yeah.
like, at the beginning, Link looks, more like a veteran. But when you're actually exploring Hyrule, once you touch the ground, you feel like you're a veteran. Like, all right, I'm back. Now I'm just like, now I have cleanup duty. I'm not trying to fix anything. I'm not trying to like, fix a wrong. But now just like, all right, I'm back. I'm doing a job. Like, get
Yeah,
out.
you're doing rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because the like reuse of the map, it makes you get the feeling of like a really good DLC, like just being right back into the game, but somehow you're still lost. Like you're still kind of I don't know where to go because there's so much new stuff. So like you have that veteran feeling that you're talking about where it feels comfortable like riding a bike just to get back in that world. But at the same time, there's so much new content that it's like a new game. So I know I wasn't like super hype about the reuse of the map, but now after seeing everything, I think I enjoy it more than I probably would have a completely new map because it gives me a nostalgic feeling of being like a teenager in high school, just like sitting down playing this game for like a week straight. I think if it was another map, obviously I would still fucking love it. But it it gives if you didn't play the first game a long time ago and you just play this one like right after, you might not get that feeling. But me personally, all the years I've spent with this game and that map, seeing the characters grow up, seeing Link grown up, seeing Hyrule change drastically, it's like, bro, uh, I'm very grateful for the amount of time that they put into the game.
Yeah, definitely. Whatever delay, did it get delayed?
It did get
No,
delayed last year.
Because
that's right. It
yeah, I
did.
don't remember this month being the original release date, but I
No,
mean,
it was
so
slotted for
far,
like 2022 or something. And then COVID happened, I guess, and you know the
you're
rest.
right, everything slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we need to get off of this because Adam's going to be kicking himself editing this. Shall we move on? Do we have?
Uh,
We didn't even do a good
Well,
game,
can I
bad
ask
game.
you guys one thing? Because to end it on a a hater moment,
Well, of course.
do you guys love the building, like the attaching building?
at first I thought I didn't, but after talking about like that moment I had, I actually kind of like it because you don't have to do these extravagant buildings, right? But it gives you the freedom to really make your own creations.
Whoopa.
I'm not really the builder type in games. Like, I'll try to find the simplest. Like, I try to build like a ladder, right,
Like
on
what
the
will give me a
island.
point A, point B most
Yeah,
efficiently.
I just put a couple logs like end to end
Mm.
and try to bullshit my way up. I it depends on how necessary it is. I'm not like I think once I start making like actual vehicles, I'll have a stronger opinion of it. But right now, it's just kind of part of the game to me. I'm more interested in the fusing and just the ease of access with the ascend power. Like it speeds up a lot of the traveling process,
Yes.
and it allows me more time to do, like, I don't Breath of the Wild is like 65% climbing,
And I
right?
and I don't think you can really appreciate the ascendability unless you played Breath of the
Yes,
Wild's climbing.
yes. So it's a lot.
You
Yeah,
should.
the building is a little too much for me at this point, but I know I'm gonna find uses for it, like my own personal use. I'm not gonna be using it the way everyone else is using it, building fucking mannequins with penises and shit. Like I'm not doing
Well,
that.
I'll say out of all of the mechanics that are introduced in this one, building is my least favorite. Like all the new abilities, building is definitely my least favorite. But at first I actually loved it. At first I was like, okay, I know I said it was Banjo Kazooie nuts and bolts, but I like being able to make a plane. I like being able to make a little platform that floats and stuff. But as I got into the game and started doing shrines, which is expected, I expect that they were going to use the building mechanic in shrines, but every shrine uses it. And I'm like, and then outside of the shrines, there are so many quests that require you to build something, and it's just trial and error. There's no guide on how to do anything. It's just trial and error and making monstrosity constructions and then breaking it apart and trying again. It started to get frustrating for me because I do like building in games. I like games like Minecraft. I like Ark Survival Evolved, but I don't enjoy when a game forces me to build. Like I like doing what you did, Jamal,
Mm-hmm.
and making my own creative way to like get around or something like that. That'll be fun. Making a car or something just for me. But
Mm-hmm.
when the quest says, "I need you to take this thing out of a hole and put it
Oh.
up there," and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I can try it. And I try it and it doesn't work. And then I try it and it doesn't work. And I try it and it doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, just give me a way to do it because this quest is not fun anymore. It's not Zelda to me. I didn't get in this game to play this building simulator. I came in to explore and fight shit and do puzzles. But like this isn't a puzzle. This is just trial and error. There's no one way to solve this. You get what I'm saying? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the physics of the building mechanics are fucking annoying. Like when you break something off of an attachment, the whole thing falls apart like a bunch of fucking
Hmm.
Legos.
Oh
You're like,
yeah.
God damn it! I just
You
put all
gotta
this shit
take
You
you
together,
got to
gotta
take
take
it
a
off the
single.
same order or the reverse order that you build it, or else it's
No,
gonna
it's
fuck
just
and it
up.
all
it's
comes
just a
apart.
single piece. Like if two things are attached together and those two things are attached to a third piece, if you take one of those two pieces that are attached to that single piece and expect those two like conjoined pieces to come off together, it's not going to work.
And
Yeah,
picking things up in this game feels significantly worse than it does in Breath of the Wild. I don't
it's
know
a little
what it is.
slower.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know what it
slower.
is about Magnesis versus this new ability,
Ultra
but
hand.
Magnesis was quick. I don't remember if you could rotate with Magnesis, but I remember being able to like manipulate objects the way I wanted to in that game. It is so hard to rotate things in this building mechanic game.
It
Like
is.
You
it's
have to approach certain things at like the angle that you want, or otherwise you gotta
the
do a lot
building
of things
the building is
to
put
get
on a
to it.
grid, so every object has like a select amount of sticking points. But the problem is that you also rotate objects on that same grid relative to where Link is. So like if you want to turn something right, or like upside down. You have to like completely one by one, and it's not like a rotate with a stick. It's like with the D-pad, like one by one, rotate it
Like
like
on an
one
axis of like
area,
six
and then it
things.
doesn't
Yeah.
just go left, right. It goes diagonal, up, down. It's fucking annoying. And I'm like, this is fun, but it should be a completely optional thing for me right now. Why am I having to do multiple quests back to back where I have to build or help someone build? Like half of the side quests I've done have just been building. So that's the only complaint, like actual besides game running wise, that I have is the building, while interesting and definitely a welcome addition, is not as fun as I would have hoped to be like in the main
I
process.
think in the beginning
Yes.
it's tough, but you get more options obviously as you progress through the game. Like
Yeah.
to make creations, to have access to those building things, and then obviously once you build more things, you kind of have a recipe to solve something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
my creation, I've done it 2 times and it serves me wonderfully. So that's like a staple recipe for something to help me get from point A to point B.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the creativity it offers isn't welcome because I definitely like being able to build shit in this type of game. But I just think when the quests are like right now, I've experienced like the majority of the side quests have been just building. It's a little like, all right, I'm ready to move on, but I don't want to move on from it
Mm-hmm.
because I just want to play it. The only thing that I've had some issues with, but everything else has been awesome.
Oh, going back because I remember the climbing thing. I was watching Chris last
We
night, and
we do
he
need to move off of this game soon.
and then
Yeah.
yes, and then we were going through, and he was going through the Zora domain, and you already know how one is a watery area, and then it starts raining and then thunderstorming. So Chris was going through that, and he was trying to climb, but then he couldn't. And then so when he would get knocked back down, he ain't climbing up. He has to walk all the way around to follow the path just to get up to where he needs to be. And
A
seeing
lot a
Chris go
lot of
through
that shit
that
is
was,
gone in this game.
I mean, I don't know. There are
Well,
some parts where I don't want to enter because it looks menacing.
For
And I'm
sure.
I'm just like, yo,
There's
I'm
some
not
Dark Souls
ready.
vibes in this game, man. Some
I'm
Elden
yeah.
like,
Ring.
I'm not ready for this. So I just completely ignore it and keep a mental check to when I feel like I'm ready. I'll go
I
down
think
there.
I think they definitely took some inspiration from FromSoft with how difficult and scary the game is now, for sure.
I welcome that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Come on, man.
Okay, so guys, we're just gonna end this, episode and topic off with just one simple question. Which beginning of the did you prefer? Do you prefer Breath of the Wild's beginning or Tears of the Kingdom's beginning? And Chris, since you haven't played Tears of the Beginning, you can just talk about your feeling starting off in Breath of the Wild. Wope, you want to go first?
Um, so if I recall correctly, the opening of Breath of the Wild, you leave the Room of Awakening and you just kind of walk out and, just open field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy that you talk to is somewhere down the hill and he tells you everything that you need to do. The feeling of walking out in Breath of the Wild for the first time was very unique. I loved it. I loved it. I still love it. I can still remember it vividly. I don't know. I feel like this Tears of the Kingdom made a very big impression on me because it's grander. It's a grander adventure. Um, but honestly, I think as of right now, I might like the Breath of the Wild opening better just because it's the first one. And it's a different feeling. Like Micah said, that nostalgia feeling. Um, Not that Tears of the Kingdom didn't give me that, but it's like I had to have this for me to have this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting a lot of respect on Breath of the Wild's name and on that intro, and I think it's flawless.
I would say so. I guess more like the cinematic to the point where you're waking up, and then obviously you're kind of like just that moment where you walk out and like the opening, like the titles, the video game title, the title screen shows up, right? I like Tears of the Kingdoms because it was powerful at first, but going into the world and was a lot better in Breath of the Wild because it was quiet and you already know Hyrule got destroyed a century ago. So you're kind of really seeing what's going on here, like what exactly has happened, and that left a more powerful impression on me. But also like being epic and like being up in the sky. So I'm gonna say I like Tears of the Kingdom, but it's literally just that quiet moment entering out is what got me into Breath of the Wild. But I
Like the
do
man in the
overall,
woods kind of thing.
yes, but overall probably like Tears of the Kingdom slightly better, but they're both fantastic openings. So
Both fantastic.
Chris, how was your feeling going to Breath of the Wild?
The opening of the vault moments in games have been done many a times. And I always go back to my Fallout 3 experience and opening up the vault for that game for the first time, and then really getting into the world, and you're like, oh my God, this is all of Maryland and DC. What is happened? What is this? So Breath of the Wild is like the culmination of all of that. It is literally the perfect opening to a game, in my opinion. You let people go wild in the first couple of in the first couple of minutes. You can literally just forego anything in that game and just start doing whatever it is that you want to do after you talk to the old man that you have to talk to, and that is truly beautiful. I beelined it like south after climbing a hill, or I'm sorry, I beelined it north after climbing a hill, and then came on to like the guardians that you see early on in the game, and I was like, oh my God, like this is amazing. Like, why am I able to fight these things? Or first of all, not able to fight these things, but why are they in my face and like doing all these crazy things? But yeah, definitely a great opening. Definitely highly recommended to anyone who has not played it yet.
Yeah, like you
They
who
shouldn't be
hasn't played
listening
it
to
yet.
this. Yeah, if you haven't played it yet, I don't know why you're here.
If we haven't sold you, I don't know what else to tell you.
But like I said earlier, the intro to this game, it was much more impactful because I had already had that nostalgic feeling in 2017 of playing the game for the first time. And that like amplified me diving into Skyrim, Hyrule, Skyrule. It amplified that feeling and how like excited I was.
Sky Rule. Hold on. That kind of
Stop,
sounds.
bro.
Wait a minute. Wait a
That
minute.
could be it.
Wait a minute.
That
Wait a
could
Listen,
be
minute.
it.
Nintendo.
Speaking of Skyrim, I think the beginning of Breath of the Wild was the closest comparison I can have to that intro and that opening is Skyrim, because seeing the volcano in the distance, seeing that world pan out, like that just felt for me, because before Breath of the Wild, Skyrim was my favorite game. It felt just like that. And that feeling, like Lope said, I think because it was the first one, it just like
It's
hit a
pure.
lot harder. And also, I think the intro, the tutorial, Great Plateau, is just far better than this game's tutorial. And I
Yes,
think
for
all
sure.
of that wrapped into one, other than that intro cutscene, because goddamn, Tears of the Kingdom's intro is fucking good. But Breath of the Wild by far has a better opening. But after the intro of Tears of the Kingdom and after the tutorial area, and you drop into Hyrule, man, it hits the ground running for sure.
I think the good thing about Great Plateau is it didn't really feel it. You didn't, at least this is my experience. I didn't even really know it was the tutorial until like
Yeah,
I got off and I was like, oh shit, there's more.
right. And
Because
another part of it was
I didn't look shit up about the game. Like I had seen videos and whatever, but I played it late. Jamal, I don't remember when I borrowed it, but
like 2 years ago.
yeah, so I was mad late. All of the hype had
if you
kind of
went
already
in with no
passed.
knowledge,
For the most part, yeah.
that it was like a testing grounds for the first time. When you got to this new tutorial area, you kind of had an idea of what was going on.
Yeah.
But that first time getting in Great Plateau, bro, I was throwing sticks, picking up apples. I was like, what the
Yeah,
fuck am I
and everything. I'm
doing?
like, I'm in it. I'm here. This is the
I'm like
game.
playing Minecraft. I don't even know what is going on. And then finally you make it to the church and you feel like, oh, okay, there's a story here. I don't know what's going on. It's like that was a much more organic feeling. Whereas I think this new one was way more just like the main quest, it was way more like go here, do this. There's people here, do this. And by the end of it, I was tired of it. I was like, I'm ready to get to the real game, because I know
because I know what's coming.
what's coming. I don't need the Great Plateau anymore. You know what I mean?
There's a story I'm trying to get into.
Yeah, and this story, there's a lot more to bite into than there was before. Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of how the game world itself relates to you as a player, because Breath of the Wild is that open, vast, explore it yourself. Tears of the Kingdom is we've got some shit to talk about and some shit to do. So you guys have your little fun, explore your shit, but then we've got things to do. Mm-hmm. So that's how I feel about this game, and I like it. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready, man. Well, as you can tell, we're not hating on at least the Legend of Zelda experience once the timelines converge. So it's a great experience. I know we're all itching to get back into our games and continuing on this journey.
Thank you for listening to Tears of the Podcast.
Yeah. We're a Zelda podcast now.
Podcast of the Kingdom.
Can't wait. Adam, I know you're listening, so can't wait till you get into this game. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, man. Tell us about all your experiences in the group chat. It's going to be wonderful. But to all our other listeners out there, thank you for listening. Give us a like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Twitch. Subscribe to our podcast. That's how we started off. That's where you probably want to listen to us the most. But like I say, if you like watching videos, listen to us on YouTube.
Are you going to stream?
I can't stream because I'm so focused.
Jamal, I guarantee you, half of the people who are streaming Tears of the Kingdom are not speaking.
All right.
Like they're just.
I'll work on setting up right after this.
I've thought about it too because I made a whole video on the intro and everything.
Plug the video.
And I
plug the video. What's the title? Where can I watch it?
The video is on my channel, Mikey OQ on YouTube. It's called. Well, at first it was called The Greatest Game
of All Time.
And then I was like, I'll chill out. And then I was like, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is incredible. That's what it's called. So go check it out if you want to basically just hear what I fucking said in this podcast. But I've thought about streaming it. I think with this game specifically, it's so hard to want to stream because a lot of the gameplay is going to be off stream. And then on top of that, I just don't want to have to feel like I'm making content. I like being, I don't know what it is, bro, but every time I boot this game up, I think I'm fucking 18 again or 17 again and fucking playing that game. And I'm like, I feel like a little kid. Fucking
I feel that.
The streaming part will probably come more end game wise when I feel like more comfortable. But once I want to immerse first,
Yeah, like I want to play without the stress of like I want to go into a field with my Switch, but I wish I had like a projector.
I feel like the people who do stream it,
Breath of the Wild.
I feel like the people who are gonna stream the whole thing or just stream it casually, probably don't appreciate Zelda as deeply as we do. Like it's probably more of like a job for them, if you get what I'm saying. Like it's probably more like 10 out of 10 game, definitely gonna stream it. People are gonna click. For me, it'd be like, you guys are about to watch me literally gush over this game for like 3 hours. I don't think anybody,
Oh no, there's always a market.
There's gonna be someone market. But yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like there's a difference between streaming and playing.
Mm-hmm. All right, but anyone else has any final remarks?
I'm ready to turn this shit off.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Logging off the podcast.
Thanks for listening, Chris.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
All right. Deuces.
Buy the game.